My husband, whom I had loved for many years, suddenly told me his company was sending him on an overseas assignment, but the condition was that he had to be single. I was suspicious, but I still agreed to his proposal for a fake divorce. I never expected that after we filed the papers, he would vanish without a trace. He stopped answering my calls, never replied to messages, and not even when his parents got sick and eventually passed away did he ever show up. Left all alone, I worked 3 part-time jobs to barely make ends meet. I woke up early, worked until late, and by the time I was not even 40, I was riddled with illnesses. Then, when his parents' old house was scheduled for demolition, he finally came back, after disappearing for more than 10 years, and he brought another woman with him. "Good thing I married a gullible idiot like you back then," he sneered. "Otherwise, how would Lily and I have had all this time to enjoy life?" Afraid I might fight him for the demolition compensation, he did the unthinkable. He teamed up with his mistress and pushed me off the building. As I lay in unbearable pain and despair, he walked away with the large sum of money and went on living a carefree life. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself back on the very night before he had brought up the fake divorce. "Babe, the company just assigned me to a temporary overseas position," he said, his voice horribly familiar. "But they require me to be single. Let's find some time to go file for divorce." I turned my head and looked at the all-too-familiar face in front of me. Without a second thought, I slapped him, hard. The crisp sound echoed through the room. Ethan Carter was stunned for a moment, then snapped out of it. "Are you fucking crazy?" I stared at his ugly face, eyes burning. I'd have to be crazy to believe that bullshit. He wasted half of my life, only to murder me in the end. Just thinking about the feeling of my bones breaking, my flesh smashing into pulp from that fall, it sent a cold shiver through my whole body. Seeing me silent, Ethan's eyes flickered with panic, but he quickly tried to cover it up and forced a smile that looked worse than crying. "Honey, I know you're upset, but I'm doing this for my promotion. It's also so I can give you a better life. You'll understand, right?" He held my hand with a look full of false affection. "It's just a fake divorce. As soon as the job ends, we'll get remarried, okay? If you're not comfortable, I can have my parents stay with you. I'll send you a living allowance every month too. You can rest easy, right?" That was exactly how he reassured me in my last life. But the day after we finalized the divorce, he completely disappeared. No calls, no messages. When his parents fell ill, I had to work 3 jobs just to afford their treatment. In the end, they still didn't make it. Even then, Ethan never showed his face. I genuinely thought he had died somewhere abroad. But when the government announced the demolition of the old family house, he suddenly appeared again, as the legal heir, taking the entire demolition payout for himself. And he shamelessly moved his mistress into our home. When I finally broke down and confronted him, he and that woman pushed me off the building together. The fury that burned in my chest was almost too much to contain. Looking at the vile man in front of me, I took a deep breath, then forced a smile and nodded. "Sure." The moment I agreed, Ethan lit up with excitement. "Perfect. This kind of thing should be done quickly. I've got a friend at the civil office. We'll file the divorce first thing tomorrow morning." He even pulled out the divorce agreement right there and then. In my previous life, I had signed it blindly, not even noticing the traps hidden in the contract. Now, as he handed me the pen, I let out a cold laugh and pointed straight at the asset division clause. "Ethan Carter, care to explain this part? If this is just a fake divorce, why does it say I walk away with nothing?" Ethan didn't even flinch. He replied with full confidence, "I'm going abroad. Everything costs more there. I'll need more money. You're just a housewife. You wouldn't understand. Stop stalling and sign the damn thing." I threw the pen to the floor. "No way in hell. If I sign this, what's to stop you from walking away for real? What if once the divorce is finalized, you turn your back on me like you did before?" I gave a cold smile and looked at him. "You're not seeing someone else, are you? Trying to use this fake divorce as a way to get rid of me?" Ethan Carter's face changed instantly. "What the hell are you talking about? Madison, don't project your dirty thoughts onto me. Don't you dare slander me like that." I couldn't be bothered to watch him put on his act anymore. I scoffed. "Fine. We can fake the divorce, but you leave with nothing." No way. He cut me off before I even finished. I had expected that reaction. After all, he was planning to run off abroad and live the good life with his little mistress. Without money, how the hell was he going to do that? Realizing he'd come off too eager, he softened his tone. Okay. How about this, babe? I know you're nervous. I'll leave this apartment to you, and I'll take the cash. Is that fair? I pretended to sigh and give in. Fine, it's just a fake divorce anyway. But the moment I turned around, I couldn't stop the smile from curling up at the corners of my mouth. What Ethan didn't know was that this apartment would be worth more than even his parents' house when it got demolished. In my previous life, the apartment had been under his name, so when the demolition happened, I didn't see a single cent. Not this time. That night, I lay in bed with my eyes closed, unable to fall asleep. Suddenly, I heard Ethan whisper my name. Babe, are you asleep? I didn't respond, pretending to be fast asleep. He gave me a little nudge, and when he was sure I was out cold, he tiptoed out of bed with his phone, quietly opened the door, and slipped out of the room. I heard the bathroom door close, and I immediately rolled over and pressed my ear to the bedroom door. Don't worry, baby, I heard him say. I already got her to sign the divorce agreement. We're finalizing it tomorrow. A giggle came through the phone. Wow, you're that eager? Just one more month, he whispered. Once we get the divorce certificate, we'll disappear. I'll fake my death or just go off the grid. Guaranteed that old hag won't find us. That old couple, I'll toss them aside too. In a few years, when they both croak and the kid's grown up, we'll come back and live the good life. I stood there, fists clenched so tightly my nails dug into my palms. Because of ovarian cysts, I'd always had trouble getting pregnant. By the second year of our marriage, Ethan had brought home a little boy, claiming he was adopted. It wasn't until the moment of my death in the last life that I learned the truth. That boy wasn't adopted at all. He was the biological child of Ethan and his mistress Lily. I had given everything, my youth, my health, my life, and ended up with nothing. The moment I heard the bathroom door open, I rushed back to bed and lay still. Ethan got into bed beside me, clearly in a good mood, even humming softly to himself. I bit my lip so hard I tasted blood, dying to turn over and tear that smug face apart. But I forced myself to take a deep breath and calm down. Don't be rash. Don't ruin it. Heaven gave me this second chance, not to act on impulse, but to send those two straight to hell. The next morning, Ethan couldn't wait to drag me to the civil office. He was all smiles, so much so that even the staff at the marriage office looked confused. Their gazes carried a strange sympathy as they glanced at me. But when they noticed the grin growing at the corners of my mouth, they were stunned into silence. As we left, I overheard one of them whispering, "That's the happiest divorcing couple I've ever seen." Over the next month, Ethan used overtime at work as an excuse to stay out all night. When he did come home, he reeked of cheap perfume. I pretended not to notice. Even when his parents saw what was going on and tried to speak up on my behalf, I simply smiled gently and said, "Mom, Dad, he's working hard. It's only natural that he has to socialize." As his wife, I should be understanding. Even our son couldn't help asking, "Mom, the other day I saw Dad with a different lady. Doesn't he love us anymore?" My feelings about the boy were complicated. He wasn't ungrateful. In my last life, after I died, he'd had a complete breakdown, investigated the truth, cried hysterically. But under the constant brainwashing and emotional manipulation by Ethan and Lily, he sank into depression and eventually took his own life. He may not have been my biological child, but the bond we shared over more than 10 years as mother and son was real. I pulled him gently into my arms. "It's okay. Even if Daddy isn't around, you still have your mom. And remember, you've done nothing wrong." I looked at him gently. "I believe that with the right guidance, you'll grow up to understand what's right and what's wrong." The day Ethan and I officially received our divorce certificate, he finally bothered to come home. Facing complaints from his parents, he put on a face full of guilt. "I'm sorry, Mom, Dad. The company just assigned me to a business trip. I may have to go abroad for a while. While I'm away, Madison will take care of you both for me." Then he turned to me. "Thanks for taking this on, Madison. When I come back, I promise I'll make it up to you." I pretended to be moved and nodded, but the moment he stepped out the door, I slammed it shut behind him with a loud bang. Back in the bedroom, I checked over everything in the house. Ethan had done worse than I expected. He took all the bank books and cards, even the gold jewelry that was clearly mine. He cleaned it all out. I was furious and nearly called to curse him out, but in the end, I forced myself to hold it in. Besides this apartment, I also had a small condo I had saved up for and bought before our marriage. It would easily be worth a couple million now. In my past life, Ethan had tricked and coerced me into transferring that condo into his name. But not this time. No matter how hard he tried to sweet talk or pressure me, I only agreed to hand over my dowry money. That condo was still legally mine. After what I went through in my past life, I had learned one hard truth. A woman must always leave herself a way out. Pitying a man will only bring a lifetime of misfortune. Just like before, once Ethan left, he completely cut contact with everyone at home. According to the timeline from my previous life, 3 days later, my father-in-law would be pushed over by some rowdy kid while exercising, resulting in a cerebral hemorrhage. My mother-in-law, overwhelmed by the shock, would suffer a stroke. I did everything I could to prevent it, but still, I couldn't stop it. My father-in-law slipped during his morning workout and fell hard. He lost consciousness once again. I stayed completely calm and immediately called for an ambulance. At the hospital, I waited for my mother-in-law to arrive and quickly comforted her. Thankfully, this time she didn't suffer a stroke like in the previous life, though her emotions were still all over the place. She trembled as she dialed Ethan's number. Just like before, the line was disconnected. Now she started to panic and called Ethan's company. But all she got was news that he had already resigned a while ago. Seeing that the moment was right, I broke down in tears. "Mom, I think Ethan tricked me." I told her everything about the fake divorce. "He even took my dowry money and all the gold jewelry you and Dad bought for me. Do you think he's seeing someone else? There's no money left at home, and now Dad's in the hospital. I really don't know what to do." My mother-in-law was furious. "That heartless bastard," she cursed. Then her eyes rolled back and she fainted. Compared to the stroke she suffered in the past life, this was already a much better outcome. I sold my condo and used the money to pay for the surgery and hospital bills, this time without any delays. My father-in-law's operation was a success, and my mother-in-law remained in good health. When he finally opened his eyes after surgery, I quickly ran into the bathroom and used several drops of eye drops to redden my eyes. Then I came out, pretending to be overjoyed. "Mom, you're awake. Don't worry, I've already paid the hospital and surgery fees. The doctor said Dad's surgery went really well. He's going to be okay." Tears welled up in her eyes, and the first thing she asked about was the money. I lowered my head and put on a sorrowful face. "I sold my parents' old house for cheap. It'll hold us over for a while, I hope." Her expression changed instantly. She knew I had lost my parents when I was young, and that old house was all I had left of them. And now, to save Dad, I had sold it. "Madison," her voice broke with emotion. She gripped my hand tightly and sobbed. I couldn't help but feel a deep ache in my chest. My in-laws were both good people who had always treated me like their own daughter. It was such a tragedy that in my previous life, because I couldn't pay for the surgery in time, they both died in pain, without even a proper funeral. This time, no matter what, I would never let that tragedy happen again. After visiting my father-in-law, the two of them seemed to have talked about something. My mother-in-law called me into the room and quietly placed a bank card into my hand. "Madison, it's that bastard Ethan who wronged you. We take part of the blame too, for failing to raise him right," my mother-in-law said, eyes full of guilt. "This is our retirement card. There's around 300,000 in it. Please, take it." Before I could refuse, she shoved the card into my hand and gripped me tightly. "Madison, if you don't mind having us two old folks around, then from today on, we'll pretend we never had that heartless son. From now on, you're our real daughter." In that moment, a wave of determination surged inside me. "Ethan Carter, since you like faking your death so much, this time I'll make it real, permanently." A month passed, and my father-in-law's condition stabilized completely. He was discharged from the hospital and came home with us. During that month, the bond between me and the two elders deepened. They really meant what they said. They treated me like their own daughter. They didn't just give me all of their savings, they even transferred the house deed to my name. I was deeply touched, and also quietly relieved. I had made the right gamble. Both of them were retired professors, reasonable, wise, and kind-hearted. Naturally, they couldn't accept what their son had done. And with me acting so devoted and respectful during this time, I had naturally filled the space Ethan left in their hearts. Besides, they had seen firsthand how Ethan had behaved before he disappeared. The guilt they felt only made them kinder to me. Thanks to their social network, I didn't have to worry at all about my son's education. It was such a shame that someone like Ethan never valued these amazing resources, all for the sake of his so-called male pride. Since he scorned them, I had no reason not to accept them with open arms. Besides my in-laws, my son, Dylan, was also starting to understand, under their guidance, just how horrible his father truly was. I eventually told them the truth about the child's origins. It was a painful truth, yes, but better than letting him live in a lie forever. When Dylan found out he wasn't biologically mine, he locked himself in his room the entire day. That evening, when I called him to come eat, this little boy, just 6 years old, came out with red eyes, took my hand seriously and said, "Mom, as long as I'm here, no one will ever hurt you again. I may not be your real son, but to me, you're my one and only mom. No one can take your place." This promise from such a small boy broke me. For the first time since I was reborn, I broke down completely, hugging him tight and sobbing uncontrollably. Why couldn't a child this wonderful have been mine by blood? 5 years passed in the blink of an eye. With my in-laws' support and care, Dylan grew up healthy in both mind and body, consistently ranking at the top of his class. My father-in-law fully recovered. He spent his days playing chess and fishing. My mother-in-law offered to take over the household so I could focus on my career. "Your father and I may be old," she said, "but we're still useful. We can't let ourselves become a burden to our precious daughter." My father-in-law even reached out to an old friend and arranged a job for me. Light duties, high salary, over $200,000 a year. The four of us lived a peaceful and happy life. We all had a silent agreement never to mention Ethan again, as if he'd truly vanished from our world. But I never let my guard down. According to the timeline from my past life, it wouldn't be long before the government would announce the next round of demolitions. And just 1 week after the announcement, Ethan had come rushing back with his mistress. Even if my in-laws would still side with me, with someone as vicious and shameless as Lily, who knew what kind of trouble she'd caused this time? That evening, just as I stepped through the door, my father-in-law handed me the household registration booklet. "Madison, your mom and I talked it over. That good-for-nothing has been missing for years. Who knows, maybe he's dead somewhere. Just looking at his name in this book makes us sick. Go to the police station and file for his removal. Then your mom and I will process the paperwork to officially adopt you. From now on, we'll be a real family." My eyes welled up with tears. I hadn't expected them to go this far just to put my heart at ease. Off to the side, Dylan blinked his big eyes and asked, "Then what about me? If Mommy becomes Grandma and Grandpa's daughter, what should I call her?" Smiling through tears, I ruffled his hair. "You'll always be Mommy's little boy." The next morning, I took the household registration booklet and went straight to the police station. Since the evidence was clear and all documents were in order, half an hour later, I completed the paperwork to have Ethan Carter legally removed from the household registry. This time, he really got what he wanted. He was dead to the world, in every official sense. After that, I went to several places: the telecom center, the bank, the Social Security office, and more. In short, I did everything I could to eliminate any trace of Ethan from society's system. I was sure that when he tried to return to the country, he'd realize that not only was he incapable of harming me or my in-laws again, but even stepping foot on this land would be nearly impossible. The thought of it filled me with a wicked satisfaction. When you're dealing with scum, you have to use scummy methods. Let go of personal restraint and embrace the joy of being unapologetically ruthless. But even after doing all that, I didn't let my guard down. They say even a cornered dog will bite. Once Ethan realized he was completely cut off and that even his parents had turned their backs on him, That's when the real war would begin. It didn't take long. The government's new zoning and demolition policy came down, and both my in-laws' house and the one we were currently living in were scheduled for demolition. And right on cue, Ethan, who had been missing for 5 years, suddenly came back. That day, I was out with my in-laws and my new boyfriend's family, having a nice meal, when shouting erupted at the entrance. The door burst open and Ethan, looking completely disheveled, barged in. The moment he saw me, his eyes bulged with rage. "You bitch, cheating on me with another man while I'm gone? I'll beat you to death today." Before he could get anywhere near me, my father-in-law grabbed a cane from nearby and slammed it across Ethan's legs, knocking him straight to the floor. Ethan stared at him in disbelief. "Dad, why are you hitting me? I'm your son." But my father-in-law didn't hold back. He raised the cane again and struck him hard across the mouth. "Bullshit! My son is long dead," Ethan screamed in pain and spit out a molar, completely stunned. But my father-in-law wasn't finished. He kept swinging, cursing non-stop. I had never seen the usually gentle, cultured man lose control like this. Where the hell did this mutt come from, pretending to be my son? At first, Ethan just tried to shield his face, but when he realized the old man wasn't stopping, he panicked and grabbed the cane. "Enough, old man. Are you crazy? What the hell did that bitch feed you, to make you forget your own son?" My father-in-law was shaking with fury. My mother-in-law rushed over and began patting his back to calm him down. Ethan tried to pull her away. "Mom, say something. Are you blind? Can't you see he's hitting me? Has he lost his damn mind?" Before he could finish his sentence, my mother-in-law slapped him across the face. "What kind of lunatic are you?" She swung again, harder this time. "My son's dead, and he can't even rest in peace. And you dare insult my daughter? I swear I'll beat you to death myself if I have to." I sat on the side, munching on sunflower seeds, thoroughly enjoying the show. My boyfriend blinked, a little confused. "Shouldn't we help?" "Nope," I replied. "This is the first time I've ever seen such a perfect tag team beatdown. I'm not interrupting that." Ethan looked dazed from the beating and tried to fight back, but my father-in-law found his second wind and smashed the cane down on his arm. "You mutt. Even if you really were my son, I'd still beat the crap out of you. Where the hell were you when I was almost dying in the hospital? You stole money from home and ran off with another woman, and now you've got the guts to come crawling back?" Ethan finally shut up and fled, clutching his head. Just before he left, he snarled one last threat. "Without me, who's going to take care of you two old farts in your dying years?" My father-in-law hurled the cane at his back. "Get lost. I don't need a son like you." My mother-in-law spat hard in disgust. "We'd rather hire a random farmhand to take care of us than rely on a scumbag like you." Of course, we all knew Ethan wouldn't give up so easily. But none of us expected that very night, he and Lily would move into my in-laws' old countryside house. The people in that village all knew each other. He assumed my in-laws wouldn't dare cause a public scene. He was right about them, but not about me. I brought my boyfriend along, and even called in a few muscular guys from the gym. We headed straight for the old rural house. The moment I opened the door, Lily's overly made-up eyes flared with rage the instant she saw me. "You bitch! How dare you show your face? This is all you're doing, isn't it?" She charged forward and tried to grab my collar, but I slapped her across the face without hesitation. "Lily," I said coldly, "if you've got issues, go see a therapist. This is my parents' house." "I have every right to be here," I said calmly. "You're the one trespassing. Want to see what happens if I call the cops?" Lily looked stunned from the slap. "What are you talking about? Isn't this Ethan's house?" I glanced at Ethan out of the corner of my eye, the smirk tugging at my lips harder than a cocked AK. "Originally, I couldn't care less about you two sewer rats, but this house belongs to my parents. That gives me every right to handle it, so I suggest you leave, unless you want me to get physical." Lily's expression twisted into something ugly. "You bitch, you'll die a miserable death." She lunged at me, trying to claw at me. I didn't hesitate. I raised my arm and delivered 2 sharp, hard slaps across her face. When she didn't immediately react, I stepped forward and threw in 2 more for good measure. "Have you come to your senses yet?" I asked coldly. "If not, I don't mind helping you a little more." I stared her down. "You've got 1 day. If you're not packed up and gone by then, I'll have people drag you out. As I turned to leave, I ran into Ethan stumbling through the front gate, reeking of alcohol with a bottle in his hand. The moment he saw me, his pupils contracted. He rushed forward to grab me, but one of the gym guys I brought along kicked him square in the chest and sent him flying. "Where the hell do you think you're going, drunk trash?" my friend snapped. "You think someone like you can lay a hand on Madison? Try it again and I'll snap your damn wrist." I had to admit, those guys had serious presence. Ethan flinched and didn't dare move again, but he quickly raised his head, brushing his greasy hair back. Desperate for me to recognize him. "It's me, Madison," he stammered. "It's me. I'm your husband." Even though it had been 5 years, there was no way I could forget the face of the man who got me killed in my past life. I slowly stepped forward, smiling faintly. Ethan looked at me with hopeful eyes until I slapped him hard across the face. "And who the hell do you think you are?" I snapped. "You can eat garbage if you want, but don't go around talking trash. My husband, Ethan Carter, is already dead. Just because you look like him doesn't mean you can impersonate him." I narrowed my eyes at him. "Don't think I don't know you came back only after hearing that my parents' house was up for demolition. You think pretending to be Ethan would get you the compensation?" Ethan looked like he was about to cry. "Madison, I really am Ethan. Just look at me. I'm him." He started frantically recalling memories from our past, reminiscing about our relationship, trying to appeal to my feelings, as if that would somehow restore what was lost. But to me, it was laughable. Now he was trying everything to convince me he was Ethan Carter, just like back then when he tried every trick to make me believe he was dead. But how do you wake someone who's only pretending to sleep? What goes around comes around. Heaven always balances the scales. No matter how much he begged and pleaded, I kept insisting. My husband died years ago. As long as I didn't acknowledge him, there was nothing he could do to me. After I'd had enough of the show, I finally said lazily, "Fine. If you're really Ethan Carter, then let's go to the police station together. Let's see if they recognize you." The moment those words left my mouth, Ethan's face turned pale. He backed down immediately, because now there was no way he could face the police. Back when he ran off with Lily to live large, he had taken out massive high-interest loans. If I called the cops, he'd be looking at prison time. He was more terrified now than ever, but he still didn't want to let me go. He fell to his knees, red-eyed and trembling, apologizing over and over. Eventually, he even threw away all dignity as a man and started slamming his forehead to the ground. "Madison, I'm begging you. I know I was wrong. I really regret everything. I have nothing left. I'm miserable now. Please, please forgive me. I swear I'll treat you right from now on. It was all Lily's fault. She seduced me, pressured me. If it weren't for her, how could I ever hurt you? You know how much I loved you, right? Think of the good times we had. Please, Madison. I really love you." Ethan cried out. Of course he did. Scumbags like him never think they're actually at fault. He was just finally aware that he had lost everything and was now clinging to me like I was his last lifeline. I ignored him and was about to leave when he suddenly rushed over and grabbed my sleeve. "Even if you don't care about me, think about our child. Do you really want him to grow up without a father?" This time, I didn't even have to say anything. The gym guys beside me stormed over and slammed him to the ground, pummeling him mercilessly. The sound of fists landing on flesh was music to my ears. One of them shouted as he beat him, "You piece of shit. Faking your own death after abandoning your wife and kid? You think you're qualified to be a father? You're not even fit to be a damn house key. More like a keychain for a sewer rat." Another chimed in, "Madison's only mistake was ever thinking you were a decent man. Look at you now, you don't even know which way is north anymore, do you?" I was so fired up watching that I couldn't resist joining in. I kicked him twice myself. "So tell me, who the hell are you really?" 3 pairs of fists the size of bricks rained down like a storm. At first, Ethan kept insisting he was Ethan Carter, but after a while, he didn't even wait for me to question him again. He just started frantically shaking his head. "I'm sorry. I was wrong. I really was wrong. I'm not Ethan. I swear I'm not. Please, please, stop hitting me. I'm not him." I smiled in satisfaction as one of the guys nodded. "That's more like it. You're practically a dead man already. What's the point of pretending anymore? I waved them off, and the guys immediately backed away. I walked over, bent down, and looked at the pathetic, broken figure lying on the ground. Smiling faintly, I said, "I'll raise my child, the one I had with my husband, on my own. That has nothing to do with you. You're just an outsider now. Come near us again, and I won't be so polite next time." There was a flicker of something in Ethan's eyes. Confusion, calculation, desperation. But he didn't say another word. I didn't even glance back as I left with the others. But I knew Ethan wouldn't give up that easily. After failing to win over my in-laws and getting thoroughly rejected by me, there was only one option left for him now: my son, Dylan. Sure enough, the next day, after my mother-in-law picked up Dylan from school and brought him home, she pulled me aside, her face dark. "I saw Ethan outside the elementary school today." She was surprisingly calm. "He's probably targeting Dylan now. Should we call the police?" I thought for a moment, then shook my head. A thief has 1,000 days to scheme, but we can't spend 1,000 days guarding against him. Besides, Ethan hasn't done anything yet. The police won't station someone to protect Dylan 24/7. I looked into my son's eyes and crouched down to meet him at eye level. "Dylan, will you help Mommy with something?" Ethan stalked the elementary school for half a month, but he never had a chance to act. It drove him crazy. He once tried to pick Dylan up directly, claiming to be his father, but the teacher immediately threatened to call the police. "The child's father passed away a long time ago," the teacher said. "Who exactly are you?" Ethan was forced to run off in embarrassment. But one day, his chance came. When Dylan wasn't picked up by my mother-in-law and walked home alone instead, Ethan immediately followed him. He cornered Dylan in a narrow alley. "Dylan, do you still recognize me?" Ethan tried to soften his voice, putting on a friendly face. Dylan tilted his head and stared for a long moment before saying, "You kind of look like my dad." Ethan's eyes lit up with emotion. "It's me, Dylan. I'm your dad." He scooped Dylan into his arms. "Come on, let's go home. I'll take you to see your real mom." Dylan blinked. "Okay." Ethan didn't expect things to go so smoothly. He brought Dylan straight to the rented house in the suburbs. When Lily saw him, she was so overwhelmed that she burst into tears and threw herself at the child. "My sweet boy, Mommy missed you so much." Dylan looked a little moved too. His voice was small and pouty. "I missed you too, Mommy. That old witch at home keeps making me study every day. She never lets me eat anything good. I hate that old witch," Dylan muttered. Ethan and Lily exchanged a glance, and both saw the gleam of excitement in each other's eyes. "Dylan, would you be willing to help Mommy with something?" Lily asked sweetly. Without even thinking, Dylan nodded eagerly. Lily pulled a small paper packet from her pocket. "When you get home, pour this into the old witch's cup. Make sure no one sees you, okay? And remember, put some in your grandparents' cups too." "I got it," Dylan said. Hearing the recording from the audio device Dylan had hidden in his pocket, I felt a chill crawl down my spine. I opened the small paper packet he had brought home. Inside was a fine white powder. I immediately contacted a friend who worked at the hospital and asked for a lab test. It turned out to be a large dose of hydrogen chloride, lethal. They actually wanted to use Dylan to poison and kill me and my in-laws. When I told them everything, my in-laws were so enraged they were stomping their feet. That bastard doesn't even deserve to be called human. Anger aside, they turned to me with full trust. "Madison, do you have a plan?" At this point, they trusted me completely, without hesitation. I smiled and nodded. "Of course, we'll turn their plan against them." That night, during dinner, Ethan, anxiously waiting at their rented house, finally got the call he'd been hoping for. Dylan's voice on the other end was clearly panicked and tearful. "Daddy, Grandpa and Grandma, they passed out. I can't wake them up." Ethan's heart skipped a beat. "Dylan, did you pour the powder into their drinks like Daddy told you?" But Dylan didn't answer. He just kept crying. Lily bit her lip. Useless little brat. Can't even handle such a simple job. The two of them shared a look and decided they needed to go see for themselves. They arrived at the apartment where my in-laws and I lived. The moment Ethan stepped through the door, he saw me slumped over the dinner table, while my in-laws were lying motionless on the floor. "You two old farts," he cursed as he stared down at them. "I'm your real son, and yet you gave everything to that outsider." Serves you right for dying. Meanwhile, Lily was scanning the spacious apartment, her eyes full of greed and satisfaction. Soon, all of this will be ours. Her gaze fell on a small paper packet on the table. Without warning, she lunged forward, grabbed it, pried my mouth open, and tried to pour it in. What are you doing? Ethan grabbed her arm, startled. What do you think I'm doing? Making sure. Lily snapped. She dumped the entire packet into my mouth and clapped her hands. That bitch made me suffer for so long. Letting her die like this is too easy, but whatever. I'll take it. Ethan pulled her into a hug from behind. It's okay, baby. From now on, everything here is ours. No one's going to take it from us ever again. They cozied up to each other like no one else existed, until Lily turned and looked at Dylan, who was quietly standing to the side. What about the brat? She asked in a whisper. Ethan hesitated. After a long moment, he gritted his teeth. Have him call the police, we'll leave. Lily crouched down beside Dylan and said gently, Sweetie, after Mommy and Daddy leave, call the police and tell them Grandpa and Grandma fainted during dinner, okay? But you absolutely can't mention us. If you do, Mommy and Daddy will never come back for you. She smiled sweetly. We'll be waiting at home, okay? Dylan, trembling with fear, nodded obediently. Satisfied, Ethan and Lily left the apartment. But an hour later, the police were at their door. The moment Lily opened it, she was tackled to the ground by officers storming in. What's going on? Ethan barely managed to speak before he too was pinned and restrained. Don't move, you've been reported for poisoning and attempted murder, come quietly. This is a mistake, Ethan shouted. I didn't. Then he froze, because standing calmly behind the police officers, very much alive, was me. Ethan's face went pale, as if he'd seen a ghost. Why are you? But the police didn't give him a chance to say another word. They dragged both of them away. Later, during the interrogation, Ethan asked to see me. I gladly agreed. Across the glass partition, he burst into tears. Madison, don't be so heartless, please. Didn't we agree from the start? It was just supposed to be a fake divorce. How could you take things this far? Now, even my parents won't acknowledge me. I only have you and our son left. You can't abandon me too. He sobbed like a victim, as if I were the one who had abandoned my husband and child. I let out a cold laugh. Ethan Carter, you know exactly who crossed the line first. You're more aware of it than anyone. You lied to me about a fake divorce just so you could run off with your mistress and enjoy the good life. You tried to cheat me out of everything. Make me leave the marriage with nothing. You didn't even bother to check in when your own parents were gravely ill. A man as heartless as you has no right to lecture me now. He stared at me, stunned. You knew? Before I could answer, his face twisted with rage. He leapt up and slammed himself against the glass partition, fists pounding. Madison John, you did this on purpose. You tried to ruin me. Why? He screamed. The officers quickly pinned him down. He suddenly let out a maniacal laugh. You think you've won, Madison? Let me tell you. Dylan is my son. He's mine and Lily's. One day he'll hate you and come looking for me. Oh, is that so? I raised my hand and motioned. Dylan came running over from the side. I gently patted his head. Thanks to this little guy, we were able to catch you two monsters. Dylan beamed with pride. Mom, wasn't my acting amazing? Ethan's eyes went wide, burning with disbelief. You really? Dylan, I'm your father. Lily is your mother. That woman, she's just a witch. How could you? My mom's not a witch, Dylan said with a calm maturity far beyond his years. She raised me. She's my real mom. He looked Ethan in the eye. As for you, I don't have a dad. Maybe I will someday, but it sure won't be you. As I led Dylan away, I heard Ethan break down behind us, his screams echoing through the room. Because of the attempted poisoning, Ethan was sentenced to 15 years in prison. Lily, due to the severity of her crimes and her complete lack of remorse, received 18 years. But neither of them ever made it to prison. Right after the sentencing, while being escorted past Lily, Ethan lunged forward and sank his teeth into her throat, severing her windpipe with terrifying force. Officers shouted at him to stop, but he wouldn't let go. In the end, they were forced to shoot him dead on the spot. When I heard the news, my in-laws didn't even flinch. As for me, I felt absolutely nothing. Mommy, I want to eat KFC, Dylan said sweetly. My boyfriend chuckled beside us and corrected him. It's KFC. This time, I had truly rewritten my fate. and ahead of me was a beautiful future.